Yep. I want to call to order the City of Marine City Pension Board meeting at 4:30 on Tuesday, July 27th, 2021. Okay, we need to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes. Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Here.
Board Member Kleeman.
Here.
Board Member Squires.
Here.
Alternate Board Member Heslop.
Here.
And Interim City Manager Ittrich.
Here. Now, I just see that there's no communications, correct?
That's correct.
So I just bypass that. All right, I need to have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and anyone in attendance for open discussion?
We have to vote on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's
All in
right.
favor?
All right, all in favor, say aye to approve the agenda.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry about that. Okay, anyone in here?
Anybody opposed?
Oh, sorry, anybody opposed? No, okay, moving ahead again. Open discussion, anyone in attendance is welcome to address the pension board. And will please state your name and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Anybody want to address the board? Okay, we move that right along. Okay, approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of April 27th, 2021. Anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Okay, do I get a second?
I'll second.
Is everybody in favor? Say aye.
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 Anybody disapprove? No, the ayes have it, okay. All right, 8 unfinished business, there doesn't seem to be any, correct, Chris?
Correct.
Okay, new business, we don't have any of that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, into financial business. Investment performance review by John
Pirate.
Freiler.
John unfortunately is sick.
Okay.
He will not be here today. He gave copies of all his investment performance, and if anybody has any questions, we can pose those questions to him at a later date. He has a plan recommendation, but we will bring that back if somebody wants to make a motion to table that plan recommendation. We'll bring that back at the next meeting.
So what do I do with the next 3?
The updated investment plan, I do have something that I passed out for that.
Okay.
So I guess the first 2, we just make motions to table, and we can cover that at our next meeting.
Okay, can I have a motion to table the first 2, A and B, under financial business?
I'll make a motion to table A and B till next meeting.
And do I have it seconded?
Second.
And everybody that's in approval of this, say aye.
Aye.
Can we do discussion?
Okay, discussion, open up.
Just a real quick thing, it
discussion.
has nothing to do with the paperwork, but can we get these things stapled when we get them so that we're not trying to figure out, I know you got a thing on here, but you gotta thumb through them all. Usually in those big machines, you can
Yeah, I
set
thought
them
that
to staple.
I thought that was stapled. The
No.
big one, I couldn't staple it, so I put a rubber
Which
band
one?
around it.
So all these,
All mine,
you
you
gotta,
switch me.
yeah, no, I mean, I'll go through them, I'm just saying.
Sure.
I've gotten other packets too where they're not stapled. It just makes it hard because you gotta kind of go through the
Yep.
whole thing.
Okay,
No
back to motions. Everybody accept these, under financial business, everybody accept that we're tabling this? I had motions, right?
Yeah, we voted on that
Okay, so
already.
we voted on that, now we're just up to updated investment plan. Would we open that up for discussion?
Well, I put in front of everyone, he said there's just a slight change in the table of allocations for the updated investment plan. If anyone has any questions, this can be tabled, but it seems like it's a simple change that he described in this. If we feel comfortable enough, we can pass the updated investment plan. If not, we'll table it.
Well, okay, then I need a motion. Do we update this or do we pass it? Somebody want to make a motion?
It looks like he took the allocation of stocks from 50 to 55%. He has 5% gold And I think he made this allocation to change to include gold, which we didn't have in the past. Feel free to jump in, Mike, if I'm,
Nope, you're doing fine.
and 39% bonds and 1% cash, and those, just 10% below, so they just shifted the allocation a little bit.
Okay, we're gonna have to make a motion on this before the discussion, correct?
Yes, make a motion. Okay, can I have a motion to either discuss it or make, or plan it, or what? Somebody make a
It'd
motion.
be a motion to improve the investment.
I'll make a motion to approve the investment.
Do I get a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. Do we want to open up this for discussion?
Well, does anybody have any discussion, I guess that's the thing. I guess I just want to know, is everybody comfortable with what he's got here?
Well, yeah, everybody's moving along to go, but
This is the same one he talked about last
I
time.
understand.
Okay.
So now what do? We make a motion to accept this?
You did. You
Okay,
just call
so-
for the roll.
Okay, I need a roll call then for the updated investment plan.
You just need to do all
Yeah,
in
just
favor.
all in
Oh, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? No, so the ayes have it, correct?
Correct.
And we can move along to the preliminary financial statements.
I'll make a motion, we accept the preliminary financial statements.
Okay, I need a second to file the financial statements.
I'll second it.
Okay. So that ends that, correct?
We have to vote on that.
Oh, we
Any
need to vote on
discussion?
that, all right, I'm sorry. All right, I need to vote on the preliminary financial statements to record and file. Is everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Okay, there I have it, so we're down to adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. the
Second.
First second, well, we're still going on.
You're on a roll, Jim, I know.
We're still not done yet. You know, I thought I was there one time and went like, okay, where's my?
So did you call for yeas and nays on the adjournment?
Oh, okay, do we have to read? Okay, I need a.
All in favor?
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Anybody against? No, so
Not
we're,
that usually.
so we're moving along. Okay. So, we don't need to call to order again, do we?
No, we just move right to the
And
agenda.
we already pledged allegiance, so, all right. We have no communications. Okay, I need someone to approve the agenda. Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and, okay, so I need to have a vote to approve the agenda. Does everybody approve this agenda? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody doesn't approve the agenda? So the ayes have it. So we move along to open discussion. Anybody here that wants to talk? I don't think so. Okay, approval of minutes. So we're approving 3 minutes, correct?
Yes, we made, it was asked that on the January 26th meeting that we amend, that Mr. Kleeman was unable to join the meeting again, so we amended that per the request, and those are here for your
Can we do these
consideration.
all together? We have to do them separately.
Separate.
So,
Okay, approval of minutes, January 26, 2021 minutes. I need a motion to accept these minutes.
I'll make a motion, accept the minutes.
Can I have a second?
second.
Okay, does everybody approve the minutes from
No.
January?
Discussion. Always
All right, discussion. We discussed the minutes.
Yeah, I'd like to, and it says board member Cleveland was muted by this time, at this time by meeting moderator, and did not participate for the remainder of the meeting. It was later discovered that Mr. Cleveland did not know how to unmute himself and therefore was unable to communicate into the meeting. Who made the city manager a moderator, by what virtue of what? by what power does she have? The city manager has no more power than any other board member other than the chair. What gives her the power to throw someone out of the meeting?
We addressed this at the last meeting. Did you want to address this again? For Zoom meetings, someone has to moderate it.
Yeah, the guidance given out from the governor's staff on down made it pretty clear, somebody has to be the moderator of a Zoom meeting.
Could you provide that for me?
No,
Why?
because I don't have it.
I mean, in the future, sometime in the future. I'll give you my address, you can mail it to me.
Okay. Can I finish? Are we gonna, I don't want to have a meeting where you're going to continuously interrupt me again. So let me finish and then you can speak, okay?
I don't continuously interrupt you, but go ahead.
Okay, you're out of order now. He's asking you nicely. Let him finish.
So, the point is somebody under the Zoom, even at our city commission meeting, somebody has to be the moderator. Somebody has to be able to look at a screen and see if there's a member of the public and what phone number they're calling in on, so we can call on them when it's time if they want to speak. If there's no moderator in the Zoom meeting, it just makes for kind of a chaotic meeting. So there is normally a moderator for a Zoom meeting. Just like if you were in person, the person who chairs the meeting is normally the custodian, the sergeant at arms, or whatever you want to refer to it as, in terms of making sure that the meeting is conducted in a fair and reasonable manner. So you normally have a moderator if you're in person, and there definitely has to be a moderator if you're by Zoom. But that wasn't the full question that you had. Your question was who gives the authority to turn someone off, I think is what your second part of your question. And that I don't know if we're gonna find anything that says that.
Okay, my opinion would be the chairman, the board chair would be the moderator. Okay, by virtue of the ordinance and by virtue of any action done by this board, no one gave the city manager the right to be the moderator. And no one ever explained to me that I could unmute myself. I've done some research and you cannot unmute yourself. The moderator muting you would be negated because you could come back on anytime you want. The moderator has to unmute you. So these minutes are not right. She's not the moderator. I would think that it would fall in the hands of the board chair, and you cannot unmute yourself. So I'm asking that they be corrected.
Yeah, I would just respond. I understand what you're saying. I think it would be almost impossible to chair a meeting and be the moderator at the same time under Zoom, not under an in-person meeting. But with Zoom, I think that would be a very difficult task because you're trying to run the meeting and do the voting and call the agenda items and working that phone system. I mean, I had a public hearing last Thursday night where we had 52 people on the phone screen, all wanting their 3 minutes on a hot topic. There's no way the chair of the meeting could have moderated, who was going to talk in what order. Normally, *6 is your unmute. But I do agree with you, unless the moderator has hit the switch to allow you in, the *6 isn't going to work. But *6 is the normal unmute back into a meeting.
I think part of the problem we have, and maybe this is something in the future, if we have to ever go back to Zoom meetings, we need to have some type of procedure so that people know how to do this, because most people don't. They wouldn't know how to do *6, they wouldn't know how to, because we have so many boards.
Yeah.
So we really need to have a procedure and it written down, and that if we ever have one of these, that each person gets it so that they know how to deal with that in the event it ever happens in the future.
I remember, Lisa, the first one I was on, the moderator kept saying, Mr. Davis, just raise your hand if you want to talk, so I kept going like this.
Yeah,
But really, there's a button you push
yes,
that signals you're raising your hand, and I had my hand up, and I had to learn.
yes,
And then I had to learn *6.
Yeah.
And then I had to learn mute and you know, how to go off screen,
yeah.
how to have voice only and no video going.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned all
So
that.
we really need a little procedure, I think, for future, so we don't get into this type of situation again,
That makes sense.
so that
Also-
everybody's, you know, aware.
Also, last 3 Zoom meetings I've been on, they do tell you now, you press *6 to unmute yourself. If your mute button doesn't work,
But that never happened at this one, because I
right,
listened
but they
to
do
it.
that now.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, we need a procedure, so that everybody's aware and they have it, you know.
So you didn't know *6.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So given I wasn't allowed to vote, are the votes taken after I was muted proper?
I don't know.
That we did vote on several things, and he
There
was
was-
present. for
There
that.
was 3 items afterwards that had to be voted on, and he couldn't vote, so,
Because he couldn't hear or couldn't.
well, he couldn't,
Couldn't
Couldn't
vote.
communicate. I
yeah,
couldn't vote.
so what happens to that now?
I couldn't engage in any discussion. What
Well,
happens?
the way to fix that is to bring those issues back for ratification.
Okay,
Let me look back and see what they are.
You know, you take the 3 items and you just bring them back and you don't have to redo the whole thing, you just re-vote.
okay,
And you ratify the vote taken.
So we do that now?
it should be the next 3 items on here, seems to me.
So all under financial business was the investment performance review by our consultant, John Fyrick. We had the Gatsby actuarial valuation and invoice approval
Looks like there was 4 votes.
and then preliminary financial
Yep.
statements.
So,
So on your next agenda, you could put those on the agenda as, I would put them under unfinished business and list them as agenda items, and then in parentheses, put ratification of vote from whatever the date was, looks like January 26th?
yeah,
Yeah.
So do I have to have somebody has to make a motion so we can table this?
No,
No.
no, I think you're trying to approve the minutes right now,
mhm,
and I think Mr. Kleeman is saying the minutes are not correct. Tangentially, we got into a discussion about votes that were taken while he was muted, and I'm telling you how to solve that at your next meeting.
This is the section that he's referring to as far as the minutes.
So, could we, is there a way to change this to make it right so we can approve the minutes otherwise?
Yeah, make it right.
well, what would you like it to say?
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
Since I wasn't here or wasn't part of that one, it says it was later discovered that Mr. Kleeman, who discovered what?
Oh, here, you have to go to the next meetings we haven't approved yet.
Oh,
It came up there.
It got discussed at the next meeting, Jim,
okay.
and,
It's in the bottom part down here, on the next minutes.
But again, it said it was later discovered that Mr. Kleeman. Yeah, I have that.
Yes, you do. It's your next set of minutes.
April.
Oh, April.
Jim, that was the first Zoom meeting I was ever on.
Yeah.
Right, no, I
And
heard
no one
about
gave me
this.
any protocol,
No,
and I was wrongfully called out of order, and then I was just cut off.
It's just a simple question I asked. I don't know
Well,
who discovered what.
I'm just telling you,
That was my only
that
question.
that's what happened.
So we asked for those minutes to be amended and brought back in this set of minutes.
Okay.
and I think what Mr. Kleeman is saying, they're still not right.
Yeah. So you'd have to identify what would you like it to say?
Well, I don't believe that the city manager rightfully was the moderator. That position was never offered to me, I don't think to anyone else.
I don't know if we can change that.
You
portion.
can't change that, I mean, we can deal with that in the future, but during that meeting, she did act as the moderator.
Acting moderator? Okay, that's fine, just let me clarify.
Okay, so that last sentence you want to leave alone, Bob?
That's
or-
fine.
Okay.
Good, so the minutes can be approved then, as is?
And then we'll bring those 4 items back.
And we'll bring the 4 items that you did not vote on back for ratification at the next meeting.
Second.
Great.
So I call to have these minutes accepted?
You call for the vote on the minutes of January 26, 2021.
Okay. Then I need to, and we're at the point where everybody approved it, correct? I kind of lost track. All right, then as, we're going to make a few changes in, but as,
There's a motion.
other than that, I need everyone to approve the January 26, 2021 minutes. Does everybody approve?
Say all those in favor.
All those in favor, sorry.
Aye.
Okay,
I ask for-
anybody,
Opposed?
Any opposed?
anybody opposed?
Motion carried then.
Okay, so now we move along to the April 27th meeting of 2021. The minutes, I need somebody to approve these minutes. Need a motion, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 27th, 2021.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Can I have everyone approve these minutes? Can I have or do we open this up for discussion?
Always do discussion and then vote.
Okay, does anybody have any discussion for these minutes? There's no discussion, correct? So now I make them, but then I need for everybody to approve these minutes. Does everybody approve these minutes?
Yay.
Aye.
Aye.
So anybody not approve these minutes? So we move along to the closed session minutes of that day, April 27th, 2021. The closed session minutes, we kind of all signed that, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no discussion on it, you just get a motion. And
Okay, I
I'll
need
make
a
a
motion.
motion to approve the April 27th closed session minutes.
Do I get a second?
Second.
And so we've already signed it, so I don't need anybody to say.
We just need to vote on it.
No, we need to vote on it, okay. So everybody agree with these minutes that we've all signed?
Aye.
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 Anybody not in approval? Okay, then we move along to unfinished business, correct?
Here's the business.
All right, retiree healthcare eligibility. What, I need a motion to bring this into discussion, is that what I'm looking
No,
at?
our attorney's gonna speak on it.
Okay,
So,
I got them all set.
I wrote a memo on April 20th of 2021. And the purpose of the memo is in section 1, and it had 2 purposes, to analyze the question of whether Richard D. Ames qualifies for retiree health care. And the second question was whether John C. Emil's widow spouse qualifies for retiree health care. And they gave short answers that both qualified for retiree health care. And they gave a series of facts related to each that I had received or researched. And then I gave an analysis roadmap because I found this exercise to be fairly difficult. On page 4, there's a short flow chart that I think you have to follow in order to go through this. And then I went into a deeper dive on the details of how that flow chart is supported. And I then came to conclusions on page 13. And issued the memo. I think also there was a FOIA
Yes.
issue related to wanting to see perhaps what might be the exhibits. I didn't cite any exhibits to my memo, but what might be the support for my memo and other things that I think Mr. Kleeman wanted. And we did do that. FOIA was pretty comprehensive. I don't know if you've picked up your FOIA response yet, but it has been ready at the city offices,
They've all been provided a copy now.
and everybody has a copy now.
I kind of put this in order of the city attorney, to be, if it helps you out, the city attorney's privilege and confidential memo on top, followed by everything in chronological order with Mr. Kleeman's FOIA, and then our response back with all the supporting documents.
And I don't know how long you've had that, so I don't know if you've had a chance to
About 2 days.
digest
I
it.
got mine yesterday afternoon.
Okay, I mean, there's a lot there, and I, you know, I sat down this afternoon and I tried to do a snapshot of how I see how you have to analyze each of these instances. And when I look at the healthcare, retiree healthcare, I start with the general premise that the first analysis is, you know, was the person employed prior to January 1, 2008? It seems to me that window has to be getting a little bit smaller as we're going forward here. I don't know how many people we still have who were employed prior to January 1 of 2008. And then you have to look at whether or not that person was not recalled from a layoff on or after January 1st of 2008. Then you have to look at whether the person is a retiree of the city, and that has its own criteria. There's an age requirement, you know, and a time requirement and that sort of thing. And then you have to look to see, upon their retirement from the city, did they elect to participate in the plan? And then you have to look at whether or not they're a participant of the plan, or they're a spouse, or they're an eligible dependent. And then you really have to look closely at the definition of participant. And then you have to see if they receive benefits from the retirement system, and if they retired with a service retirement. The key in all of this is the definition of who's a participant in the plan. And then you have to look at the definition of who's a member and what is a membership position, what does it require to be a member, and the interrelationship between the ICMA election and how it interplays with the definition of having a membership position. So it's not, you know, you wonder who sits down and writes these things, because they're difficult. This one is difficult to decipher because of the interplay between Chapter 32 and Chapter 33 of your ordinance scheme, the retirement system and its interplay with retiree healthcare. There are some initial criteria that are pretty well set in stone. And I don't know who's left who was employed prior to January 1st, 2008, probably.
I think 3 of us. Mike
It's a dwindling field, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then you know, you work through the other criteria. So long and short is, when I worked through that criteria for the 2 that you asked me to look at, I concluded that they both qualified for retiree health care. And that was the conclusion of my April 20th, 2021 memo.
I'm looking at your flow chart. Does that person meet the eligibility factors of the plan and trust? No, they didn't. Is that person a participant in the plan and trust? That's actually a nice play on words. Are they a participant in the Marine City retirement system? Not and/or the ICMA. Those people chose to opt out of the Marine City retirement plan. That was their choice, to go to the ICMA. Okay, so they don't meet that criteria. Is that person a member of the retirement system? Okay. When I retired, I had certain options. One of them was to take this amount, which is retirement health care for me and my spouse, and upon my death, I'm going to predecease my wife. She doesn't get a benefit. And I very carefully explained to me then, at that point, because she does not receive a benefit, she's not a member of the Marine City retirement system, she will not be eligible for health care. Now, explain to me, as the retirement board's attorney, what is the difference between my wife and Mr. Ames, Mrs. Amiel, anybody else that got out of the pension system? If I was to sever my pension right now, and say, listen, buy me up, give me my money, they're not going to give me health care. What is the difference?
I think in your instance, number one, I don't think you ever met the retirement age. You retired at 49, you never got to 55. Number two, now, just let me finish. Number two, you signed off on survivor benefits voluntarily, so you got more money in your monthly check because you gave away the survivor benefit. If you had not given away the survivor benefit, the money in your pocket would have been less per month.
With all due respect, I know that. I know I signed off
Right.
voluntarily.
So the
But
difference,
if I would went to the please don't interrupt me. When I
I wasn't done with my
When
answer.
I went to the ICMA, if I went to the ICMA, then I was signing off any claim I had toward the pension.
It's not true. So
not true. Why not?
When you look at
The plan says Marine City Retirement System.
Okay.
Let him talk, please.
Can I answer? So when you look at the definition of what is a membership position, under the definition of participant, in order to be a member, it doesn't require, it has nothing to do with whether or not you selected ICMA or whether you went to the Marine City Retirement System. It has two criteria to be a member. It's a city position, normally requiring 1,000 or more hours of work in a calendar year. And for employees hired on or after October 1st of 2008, it's a city position normally requiring 2,080 or more work hours in a calendar year. And Mr. Kleeman, I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying I disagree with you. What I'm telling you though, is the ordinance doesn't say that. The ordinance does not make being a member conditioned on whether or not you pick the ICMA or not. It just doesn't say it. It probably should have, but it doesn't. And that was the I took great pains in my memo to explain that it just doesn't have that criteria in there, but I understand why you and I might think it should, but it doesn't. So we're bound by what is a participant, because in order to get retiree benefits, you have to be a participant. We probably agree on that. So then you look at the definition under the ordinance of a participant. And when you get to the definition of participant, it gives you a full-time employee of the city before December 31st of 07. And then it gives you have to be a member of both the medical plan and the retirement system. You just have to be a member. And then you have to go to the definition of what does it mean to be a member. And to be a member is irrelevant whether you pick ICMA. It's not the criteria. It might have, should have been, but it isn't under the ordinance.
Can I ask one question? So explain to me on, just because I'm trying to read through the thing. So in the retirement thing, under membership of retirement system, okay? There's a section E there. It says persons who would like to become members of the ICMA pension program in accordance with the terms of their employment or respective employment contract shall not be included in coverage of this chapter.
Coverage,
Okay.
yes, I agree with you.
I'm just asking you, explain
No,
that.
I totally, I read that 1,000 times.
Okay.
It means they don't participate in coverage. But because you're not in coverage, does not mean you're not in a membership position. Because a membership position is defined differently. Awkward, Lisa.
Yeah,
And
that's
Robert,
what I'm,
awkward, totally awkward. I don't think I would have written it this way. But coverage under the way you guys wrote this, not blaming, we can blame Jim. Jim, the way you wrote this ordinance, coverage is far different than membership
Yeah.
by definition. I don't know how you got there, but that's the way it reads. And so when you're parsing out and you're potentially looking at reaching back to somebody who's been getting retiree health care benefits for quite a while, notwithstanding the fact we gave them a contractual obligation. And if you're gonna try to take those benefits away, these issues are gonna come up in litigation. And you will get, there would be obviously litigation.
Okay.
And my position as your lawyer is to say, your position that you're articulating, Robert and Lisa, I understand, the ordinance doesn't support it by its wording. It would make sense to the average person to say, well, if you're not part of coverage, how can you be a member of the plan? I get it, but that's not what it, unfortunately, that's not what it says.
So at this point, based on the fact that there's not a whole lot of people coming in, there's no point in trying to correct this.
That's why I kind of start off saying our pool, you know, I mean, you got Jim, right? You got Mike and one other person.
One other police officer, yep.
I mean, you know, Jim I'd be worried about with the amount of spouses we might have, but, I'm just, how often does a lawyer get to take shots at a police officer?
It's very often, trust me, very often.
No, it would not be worth your time really to try to clarify it at this point, but. So Bob and Lisa, when you look at, membership position, I mean, it should have said, if you wanted to advance your position, that, you had to have elected the coverage under this. It just doesn't say it. I can't make it say it.
Okay. Well, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I know, I totally understand.
Yeah.
So that is exactly in the memo how I reached the conclusion, notwithstanding the contractual issue that we would have to face. But their status, they met the requirements of being a member, which means that they were a participant in the system.
Now,
Okay.
first of all, you know as well as I do that a contract cannot supersede an ordinance. You know that, so please don't bring that up. You can't negotiate a contract to get around an ordinance or a law. It does not happen. So, for the sake of the other board members, you shouldn't bring that up. That shouldn't have been mentioned. Second of all,
It's in my memo, so I mentioned it.
okay, well, you just mentioned it again as if you could contract away from an ordinance.
I did not say that.
We have contractual issues to deal with.
I said notwithstanding the issue of contracts which would be litigated, I came to the conclusion based on the language.
Okay, okay. And then the ordinance is pretty specific that says, in order to enjoy the benefits of healthcare, retiree healthcare benefit, you must be a participant in the Rain City retirement system. Now, you and I can belong to the same softball team. We're both members. If you don't play, you're not a participant. If I play, I'm a participant. Okay, there's a difference. You're running under member trying to do this, okay? I totally disagree with you, totally. And I know what you're doing. I'm an old man and I've been around the block quite a few times. I know what you're doing.
What am I doing?
You're patronizing the board. You're patronizing our city manager for what you're doing. Your statement begins with assuming everything is fact. Assuming is running away from the attorney grievance thing in Lansing. You say, well, I just assumed that everything was right, okay?
That's an interesting comment, Mr. Cleveland, from a person who doesn't know me.
Well, I know enough by what you're doing here.
And it's an interesting motive. So I write my memos to the city. You can ask the commissioners. They don't always like my memos because I follow the law. I apply the ordinances, and I have to assume facts in order to reach an opinion. If my facts are not correct, my opinion's not correct. So what's the first thing I said in here? For purposes of this memorandum, the following facts are assumed to be true as presented to me. If these facts are not true, this memorandum may need to be modified. Please advise me immediately.
Well, I think we should look farther into it.
Okay, well, I gave 2 pages of what I believe were the facts given to me. I don't make up the facts, I get the facts. You asked me as a lawyer to take the facts that I'm given, apply them to the law, and reach a conclusion. I don't have a motive, I'm not patronizing anybody. Lisa, who's sitting to your immediate right, can tell you she often disagrees with my conclusions and my memorandums, but that's fine. I think on some level, she does see the application of fact to law. She may not like the conclusion, but she understands it. I know Jim doesn't agree with everything that I conclude, but he understands it. I didn't expect you to agree with this because I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I think the wording is bad. I already told you that. I think it should say what you're saying.
It does say that.
It does not say that. If you want to come over or send me a highlighted version of where it says it, then send it to me. I've asked you that 3 times. Tell me where it says it, and I'd be happy. Listen, Bob, I'm going to tell you right now, if I can learn something from the checkout lady at Kroger, I'm not so arrogant. I'm very humble on where I get my knowledge. I'll take it from anywhere. But if you say it says it, if you say that the membership position definition contains a clause that says you must accept the coverage provided by the city of Marine City, you tell me where it says that, and I'd be happy to look at it.
Does the ordinance not say that in order to enjoy the retiree healthcare benefits, you must have been a participant in the Marine City retirement system at the time of retirement? Does it not say that?
It says you have to be a participant, and then the participant is defined by member, and then it gives a definition of who's a member. The definition of member does not specifically say that you have to have elected the coverage. And I'm just telling you what it says. The coverage is not linked to the member status. So the fact that somebody went off to ICMA does not take away their status of being a member if they meet the member requirements.
So the membership encompasses participant, is what you're saying?
Participant encumbered includes member. Participant, you have to be a participant. And then in order to be a participant, there are 2 requirements. You have to be a member, you have to have a membership position, and that's defined. And you have to be a full-time employee on or before December 31st, 2007. I mean, they didn't even keep the same dates, Bob. In one part, they used January 1, 2008. In one place, they used December 31st, 2007. So you have participant here, and then you have, in order to be a participant, you have 2 requirements. One is you have to be a full-time employee, December 31st, 2007. And number 2, you have to have a membership position. And then membership position is the only thing that's defined. And in the definition of membership position, it does not include that you have to have participated in the coverage. It just goes to work hours. I mean, if you can show me a different provision that I should read, I would be more than happy to read it.
Well, I don't want to hold the meeting up.
What's that?
I don't want to hold the meeting up.
You can do that outside the meeting, though.
Just
If I
send me,
was, if I was to, I'm a member of the pension board. Let's say I don't show up for a year, what happens to me?
we miss you.
Does the board remove me?
Whatever's in
Can
there,
they?
whatever's in their operating bylaws.
Can they, Chair?
Yeah, I
Can I
believe
do-
they can after so many meetings
For
that
what
you missed.
reason? For
We're
what
not,
reason?
you can be removed,
For what reason?
because that's part of our,
No, not because. For what reason? My kids say because. Excuse me.
because it's part of our rules.
For
It says
for
it
not
in the rules.
participating. You're going to remove me for not participating.
Okay, so you're trying to use this as an example for what you just
Absolutely,
said.
I'm trying to
Okay,
make
well,
an
then,
example.
but let me tell you what I understand it says. It's kind of saying 2 things. He's saying that it's wrong. He said he wouldn't have kept it like that. but it's the way it's wording. But this is the way I'm viewing it, Bob, okay? This one woman's been kept collecting Blue Cross for a really long time. So now we suddenly take her off of it?
We have a duty to the taxpayers.
Wait a minute. I need to finish, okay? So if we suddenly take her off of it, what's gonna happen is she's gonna sue us. And what he's saying is, by the way the language reads, and he's a lawyer, so he handles lawsuits. By the way the language is, we're not gonna win. So not only are we gonna have to go back and start our Blue Cross again, we're gonna have to pay for a court case. So what are we trying to accomplish here by digging up something that he said can't be dug up? Because the way the wording is, even though he thinks it's crummy wording, she would win in a lawsuit. Am I incorrect in the way I'm interpreting this?
You have said correctly.
So that's
We
where I'm
would-
going
we
with this.
would
This
lose
is
a
what,
lot.
I'm just gonna tell you, I've been through lots of classes. To be on a planning board, to be on condo boards, to be on all this. This is what runs through my head that lawyers teach me. Whether it's right or wrong, I pay to take these classes. They don't pay for me to learn, but I pay to take these classes. What they say, whatever your decisions are, on whatever board you're on, you always have to think of the liability, the liability, the liability. So I'm looking at this with the liability, and I'm saying, why do we keep talking about this? Because if we decided whatever we're supposed to do with the taxpayers and everything else, well, it's also my job here as a board member, as far as I'm concerned, to not create a liability for taxpayers. And that's what I hear here, that we're just gonna create a big liability. So I think it's a moot point at this point. There's no way that you wanted to say something that it doesn't, the way he's explaining it. That's just the way I think. So to bring in this other thing that you're saying, I think that's a moot point to what I just gave as an example.
So we have these two ladies that have quadros, one being my ex-wife. For years they've been without health care. They receive a pension from the city, just like they worked for the city. I didn't retire when I was eligible. And number one, when you brought up I retired at 49, I retired, at that time those cities were in economic trouble. People they waived the age requirement and said if you've got the years in, you can retire.
I agree. I'm just saying you didn't hit 55.
What was the point of bringing that up?
Because when you start looking through and you're parsing out the language, you have to read every provision. And I understand that.
The council made a motion.
I understand, I agree, I read it, and it was waived. I understand entirely. What I'm getting at here, Bob, is I'm saying to you, and I understand your softball example, and I understand you're not the participation thing. And I understand what you're saying, that it would make sense. It would make sense to read this to say, you're only gonna get retiree health care benefits if you were a participant, right? Verb, participant in the plan. And unfortunately, that logic never translated into the wording of your ordinance.
So why haven't these two ladies been offered health care yet? I asked that question meetings ago.
I
That's
don't
the
know.
first time I think
I think that's the next, isn't it?
I-
Yes, that's the next one.
If I get out of order, that's fine.
Yeah, that's the-
Okay.
Do you have anything to say?
To end this, I would like to see this go to an outside attorney. No
Okay.
disrespect meant.
That's fine.
Can I say something, please?
Yes, you have the floor.
I make a motion that we kick this up to city commission to determine whether or not we make more investigation. It's up to them to entirely make the investigation, not up to us. So I'm making a motion that we kick this up to them, let them look at all this and decide whether or not we need an outside attorney, if this is done and over with, if they're set and whatever.
Does it have to go to the commission?
Yes.
I'm asking Bob.
Well, I think the commission is the one who has to ultimately hear your disputes.
Yes.
Okay, so he made a motion, so I need a second for that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and now, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, then the motion's carried, so we're kicking this up to the commission. And we're moving along. Okay, new business. I need a motion for board member requests for healthcare. I need a motion to open this up for discussion.
It's just a discussion, I mean, I
Okay.
don't think there's anything to make a motion for.
All right, what is the request for healthcare? Is that Paul McAlpine's request?
No,
No.
that's a separate issue.
Okay.
You got 9A in your packet? There's a sheet.
You know, I'm sorry, but I just had cataract surgery, and I've got one eye that sees and one eye that doesn't, and I'm still adjusting to wearing glasses to see near.
So this is where his next question is.
Okay, I've got my pad out and I'm ready to listen.
Why haven't we, these women that have quadros, why haven't they been extended health care? They get pension, a monthly pension check from the city. They're participants in the pension plan. And when I got divorced, my attorney said, treat it as if she worked for the city. She was an employee of the city for 25 years. Trust me, I didn't want to give her all that money. And the city went so far as to, when they opened the window, we had 90 days. And I wasn't going to retire, I wasn't ready. And I asked them for a couple month extension. So if something happened, actually I got injured, so the last day of the extension, I went to the city manager's house on West Boulevard and signed the papers. Said I gotta go, it's not fair to the taxpayers for me to be out there, because I'm gonna get hurt bad. Okay, I called my ex-wife, excuse me, let me finish. I called my ex-wife and I said to her, you can start drawing your pension check now. She said, I've been drawing it since January 1st. So the city went on their own, which I don't mind, because it's a law. Once she was eligible for that benefit, the city had to send it to her. So she was eligible January 1st when I was eligible. Okay? So why weren't they extended health care? That's what I'd like to know.
Okay, so I'm gonna look at this, but I wanna, can we go through these one at a time so I know who they are and why they should get health care? So Charlene, and I might screw up the last name.
Simonetta.
Simonetta. So who is Charlene Simonetta and why, under what theory does she deserve retiree health care?
She was originally married to Paul McAlpine, who retired as a police officer here.
Was she married to Mr. McAlpine when he retired?
No. She retired January 1st. She started drawing the pension check January 1st of 2004.
So, hang on,
So again, she drew before he got offered out, just
So-
like you.
No, we were offered as of January 1st.
hang on a second, stay on Charlene.
All right,
Charlene was married to Mr. McAlpine.
Right.
correct.
She was not a city employee. So Mr. McAlpine was retired from the city of Marine City.
Not at the time of divorce.
No, just,
He has retired, yes,
he has retired.
yes.
When he retired, was she a dependent or a spouse?
No.
Okay. At the time. So they were already divorced when he retired.
Yeah.
And she's collecting a pension
Yes, she is.
pursuant to a divorce order,
Quadro.
a quadro order. I actually know what those are.
I'm sure you do.
Well, no, I only did one divorce case in my whole career, Bob, and I really screwed it up. But it was my own, so it was all right. Already divorced when he retired, not a spouse or dependent at the time of retirement, but was married to Mr. McAlpine, who's a retired police officer. Mr. McAlpine meets all the requirements for pension and retiree healthcare?
Yes.
As far as I know, yeah.
Yes,
So he's fully eligible for both and is collecting both?
yes.
Is anybody aware of an order about her getting retiree health care? Any court order? No. Or was the quadro just for pension?
The Quadro, and I'm going on what my divorce attorney said. He basically said, treat it as if she was an employee of the city. She's entitled to it,
To it meaning
everything.
pension and health
Basically
care?
everything I had. Huh?
No, we're only talking about Charlene now.
Right.
We'll get to your folks, I think, next. Charlene, is anyone aware, you say there's a quadro order for Charlene to get the pension?
Yeah,
Okay.
which if you're getting a pension check, you're a participant. You're participating in the pension.
Okay, and is there a quad order specifically for her to get retiree health care?
Not that I'm aware of.
Does anybody else on this board have any other facts on this person, Charlene? Lisa, you got anything?
No, not unless I ask Paul.
I've got one question. Maybe you can solve this whole thing, but, look at it as Charlene's got one string, that quadro connects her to the pension plan. She draws a pension. Karen Amiel has 0 strings attached to that pension plan, entitling her to health care. Why is she getting it and Charlene McAlpine not?
I don't know, Bob, I'm just learning about
Okay, okay.
I just want to know, do I have, this is what I have. Married to Mr. McAlpine, not a spouse or a dependent at the time McAlpine retired, already divorced when he retired. He meets all the requirements and collects the benefits. And there's a quad for her to get pension. We're not aware of a quad for her to get retiree health care, which may not mean anything. What else, Lisa, do you know?
That's about as much as I know, because he remarried.
Okay. Jim, what do you know?
I don't know anything. I know nothing further.
Not on this issue.
Not on this issue. I do have a question, though. How do we know that it's part of the divorce order that she gets a pension? Have you seen that order, Bob?
Her quadro? I hope she gets a pension. I speak.
No, I get that. So
Have we
she's getting
seen
the
the
pension,
order?
but has anybody seen that order? Is what because I'm going down, you're saying, Pat, that if Karen Amiel isn't getting it, but she is pursuant to the divorce, we're sitting here and we're all assuming that it's part of a divorce agreement, but has anybody seen it? That's what I'm
I've never
asking.
seen it.
No.
Okay. I think Bob was saying that based on his experience, there would be a quad order.
Right, no, and I agree with him, absolutely. We're assuming that it's part of that divorce,
But we don't know.
but we don't know,
Yeah.
right?
All the quads that I know, that my ex-wife and
Yep.
everybody's in,
Yep.
that there's no retirement ever gets offered to them, it's just the pension.
Mhm.
That's it.
Right.
So to see something in the quad for them to get retirement, health care, I've never seen it.
Right. Because this is gonna pose another question that I have, is we had another lieutenant who retired. His ex-wife is collecting a pension, but she's not getting health care.
Right.
So that's Barbie Colts. She since
Oh, yeah.
remarried, so that's
Yeah.
gonna be a fourth one that, I mean, it's gonna be a mess.
If
We're
it's that
seeing
in-
a lot of them get pension, but we're not seeing a lot of them getting health care.
Correct.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, Madam Chair, do you have any facts that I haven't written
I have
down?
no facts. No, I know nothing about those.
Mr. Mike, do you have any facts?
No.
Okay. So I'll take a look at these facts and see what, the question being raised, I think, on the agenda item is, should Charlene be getting retiree health care? Right?
Right.
That's the question. All right. That is Charlene. Okay, so Dawn. Who is Dawn?
That's my ex.
So that's the ex-wife of Robert. Factually, Robert qualified for benefits, right?
Mhm.
Pension and health care. Was she married to you when you retired?
No,
So she was not a spouse or a dependent when you retired?
no,
And does she have a quad for pension?
you know, I don't know, it's been that many years, I don't know. It's been 30 years.
So you don't know if she has, if there,
No.
is she collect, maybe this is easier, Bob, is she collecting a pension?
Yes, she is.
And you're collecting a pension?
Right,
And she's not getting retiree health care?
no.
Okay, and the question is why isn't she getting retiree health care?
Right.
Okay, so are there any more facts, Bob, on Dawn that I
No.
should know?
No,
She's not your current wife, she wasn't your wife when you retired,
no,
but she is collecting a pension.
right.
Okay. Lisa, do you have any other facts relating to Dawn?
Mm-mm.
Jim, do you have any facts relating to Dawn?
Or no, sir?
Madam Chair, do you?
No, I have no facts.
I have nothing.
I got nothing either, so. Okay, so that's the facts on, that we know on Dawn. So, Claudia Kleeman, I take it she's your current wife.
Right,
So we got Claudia. Claudia, were you married to Claudia when you retired?
yeah, yes,
She was your spouse when you retired.
yes.
And does Claudia get pension?
No, mine, every month.
She
Is
should-
there a survivor's benefit? No.
There's no survivor benefit for pension for
No.
her, right? And there is a document on that, right, where you signed off on survivor benefits.
Yes, it is.
So the question on Claudia is why is she not receiving health care,
She gets health care.
retiree health care?
Yep.
She currently gets retiree health care?
Yes, she does.
Oh, she does, all right. So what is the question on Claudia then?
The question on Claudia is, when I signed my retirement papers, I would have been penalized financially monthly on my pension to include her. Had I known this healthcare thing didn't require much, I wasn't advised of that by the city then, but it would have reduced my pension amount every month to make her a survivor, to get the benefits.
I would agree, it almost cuts it in half.
Yeah, okay. Now, I opted not to do that, and I put in 5% of every dollar I made working for the city for 28 years. Okay, so you got 5% for 28 years, I opted not to take that benefit. We've got two people who weren't in the plan, put in nothing, one whose spouse is deceased, getting this benefit. They never paid for it. Now it's being paid for by the taxpayers of Marine City wrongfully. So if you're going to do for one, and not just my wife, why should Jim have to retire and say, I want my wife to have health care, so I'm going to sign for about half of what I normally get? The option of, well, we can give your spouse upon your death health care for $300 a month was never offered to me. And obviously this ordinance hasn't been changed since then, so it was available, by your opinion. Why would he have to decide to take a reduced amount when we had people collecting retiree health care that didn't pay a dime?
Well, I totally understand the question. I really thought she was not getting retiree health care, and that was the question tonight. She is getting retiree health care. Your
Upon
question-
my death.
No, what's that?
Upon my death.
She doesn't get it now?
Yes.
And she'll get it when you die?
No.
Because, I raise it as a rhetorical question, she's not gonna get it when you die, because you didn't elect survivor benefits. And you-
Had I known I didn't have to, I wouldn't have. I would have signed what I signed. Because was Jack Amiel brought in and say, Jack, you gotta pay so much a month to insure your wife, although you're in the ICMA, gets health care when you die? No. Is Rick Ames paying extra, did he pay extra when he was in the ICMA saying that, although if you predecease your wife, she's going to get health care? No. I had to take a financial responsibility. Jim would have to take a financial cut to get that. Something you're giving to other people at taxpayers' expense wrongfully, in my opinion. But you're telling me, my wife, no, you can't have it. And you're telling a lot of other people, you can't have it. Does Ramona, wife, husband worked at the water plant, Ramona?
Yes.
Tronics, does she get supplemental health care?
Yes, she does.
Does she pay for it?
I'm not sure.
Okay. But my question is, why are we giving it to people that aren't entitled to it? And if by your reasoning, they're entitled to it, then I think my wife is entitled to it.
Okay. So your factual position on Claudia is that if we're giving it to
Karen,
the two that are in my memo, then your wife should be entitled to it upon your death.
Using your rationale, yes, I do.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would think that's very discriminatory. You're picking and choosing who gets this.
Okay. But you did sign off on survivor benefits.
That or suffer financially. Under the threat of having my pension cut, yeah, I signed off, actually under duress. Had I known this option was available, that, hey, you don't have to be a member, as long as you work for the city, and you retire, we're gonna give your spouse health care. Because we don't even care if you're in the plan, you're not a participant, we're gonna give you health care. And when you die, we're gonna go one step further and give it to your wife.
Okay.
That's like giving it to his children when she dies. Where does it end?
That's why I raised the issue earlier, Jim, of all the spouses. You can see how this can snowball.
Yes.
And I think it's gonna open up other doors for other people.
All right, well, I'll look into
It
this,
needs
but
to be addressed.
Agreed, absolutely, 100%.
right. So I will look into it. So Lisa, on Claudia, any other factors that I need?
Nope.
Jim,
No, sir.
I think I know the answer, Madam Chair. You have no facts.
I have no facts on this, no, I sure don't.
I've got that one down pretty well. Mike, do you have
I have
any,
nothing.
do you have any insight on this at all?
No, only thing that, everybody that retired from the city, whether Rick, John, whatever, had the option of doing that. Everybody that preceded your retirement did the same thing, they had that same choice. either take the benefits or not. Most of them, like you, did not take death benefits, and they survived through this. Their wife does not get benefits.
So that's what I was gonna, Jim, and, because it applies to you, I mean, if there's people out there who did elect to get survivor benefits, so they reduced their own pension so their wife could be taken care of upon their death, you would agree that they should be getting those benefits, right? Likewise, if you sat down and said, look, we're better off financially not to give you survivor benefits so we can have all the money now, which would, that would be a decision you would make, but you would have to understand your wife would not get the benefits post your death. And maybe you guys, you talk about that and you figure out, maybe we'll just die on the same day and it'll all work out. But you can't plan like that. But you see what I'm saying? So if out there, you guys are hearing that, there's a lot of quadro orders, for example, allowing for pension, but you haven't seen any allowing for health care. You're saying maybe some people's spouses are getting health care that shouldn't be getting health care, but we don't really know, did they elect?
That's not what I'm saying.
No. Like Emil, was there an election of survivor benefits in those cases?
Good question. I'd like to see it.
Right, so that's what I'm getting at. I haven't seen it either. But so would you agree with me that if one of those people who you think their wives maybe aren't currently entitled to retiree health care benefits, if in fact they're retired, the folks had signed for survivor benefits, would that make a difference at all?
Well, actually, I did see it. My FOIA was answered, and I got the contracts for Amiel and Rick Ames and Jack Amiel, and there was no mention of survivor benefits.
Okay, so I'll look into that further.
No, I think like Bill Clausen, I think he told me he has survivor benefits for his wife.
Mm-hmm.
So he would be drawing less on his pension.
I believe he is, yeah.
So that his wife could later have retiree
Yeah.
health care.
Probably the only one that I know of.
No, Justin and Tom did the same
Did
thing.
they?
Yeah.
So Jim, you understand, that would be something you would have to look at.
Absolutely, I understand.
Lots of factors.
Yep.
You look at your current health condition.
But I also see Bob's point that, if some of these people aren't getting it with nothing else in play, they should be entitled to it as well. I see where he's going with
No,
this. But I understand both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, any other facts? Please, if you come across anything, now that we've talked about this, you
Okay.
talk to somebody, you learn something, let me know. So we can try to get these questions answered.
Okay, we're done with this, now where do I go with this?
Paul McKelvey, next
Paul
one.
McKelvey.
Okay, go to my next one, okay. I need a,
Yeah, we just go to the next,
we're opening this up for discussion?
Yeah, well, Chris has got to tell us why it's on here.
Oh, okay.
You asked for an update on Paul's, I think Bob did last time, update on
Healthcare?
Paul's medical health care.
Oh, his Medicare?
Yeah.
Okay. Letter's being drafted right now, and he's gonna be off our Blue Cross Blue Shield on August 31st if he does not go over to the Blue Care Network. Right now, it's in our, what do you call our people, our medical administrative people, to determine whether or not our insurance is better than Monica's insurance, make him go on either one of the plans.
Now, I talked to Paul one time a while back, and he said he's talked to several Social Security offices, and whatever they have, he claims.
No, he said him and Ned have been talking, he
Okay.
said, he's been sending everything in, and we sent all the information to our person that
Okay.
runs our stuff.
All right.
And in our ordinance, it says if his wife has better insurance than us, that he has to take that.
Okay,
And that's what they're checking on, to make sure that they're comparing ours
got
to
it.
hers.
Yeah.
But as of August 31st, he's getting a letter that he's gonna be no longer on our healthcare system unless he goes on the Blue Cross network.
And how are you sending that letter to make sure he gets it?
Megan's been communicating with him, so,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, I just don't want to hear from somebody saying that, well, I never, I didn't get the letter.
No, they've been communicating, and it sounds like they've been communicating quite good, so I think it's going well.
All right.
All right?
Yep.
So now we're finished with new business, right? We move along?
All right, I've got discussion.
Sure.
Rick Nichols. Same situation. He's still collecting retiree dependent regular Blue Cross.
Okay. I'll check into that one.
I was told it's because he lives out of state.
No, it doesn't matter where you live.
And I wanted to move, again, a discriminatory move on part of the city under Elaine. And I checked into it, and my Blue Cross Blue Shield again doesn't travel out of the state of Michigan. And your ex-city manager, and pardon me for using this language, was a liar. I told her in the event I get sick or hurt out of state and I had one back surgery cost $250,000, and get a large bill, what should I do? And her and Mary Ellen said, bring it to the city, the council will vote and pay it. Now, I don't think Ray City Council is gonna, Lisa, you can tell me, is gonna pay a $250,000 surgery bill.
No.
That's what I was told. And I was given the trailer in Lakeland, Florida. I'm a baseball nut, and I had to actually I was given two. I had to turn them down because my health care would not travel with me. But then I see these other people. Rick Nichols lives in Florida, and he's got full Blue Cross Blue Shield, which goes to Florida with him. Now, whether you like me or not, I don't care. I'm too old to worry about things like that. Be fair and don't be discriminatory is what they're doing.
Mike, you gonna look into that one, and
I'm gonna look into that one.
I'm too old not to like it.
Okay? I got it someplace, I just wrote it down, gotta find it, yes. I will look into Rick Nichols, I'm just looking on here, he still is on the Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So I will look into that. Okay?
Are we moving along now? Correct? We move along?
Are we done with discussion?
Discussion's finished? So what do these?
I've got some questions. While we're, I wanted to get something on the agenda. And I submitted it verbally and in writing.
I think we gotta finish.
But where do I go with that? When is that?
At the end.
At the end?
Before we end, you could, but right now, we gotta wrap
Okay,
up, we gotta wrap up 9B, right?
Right.
So Mike has indicated he's gonna look into that. Do we need action on that then?
All these other people on this list, Mike, they live in state? Rick is the only one you need to look into on that?
Kirk Piscorner does not live in state, well, he's half and half. He's here and there.
All right.
He's in Florida and back up here.
I mean, just to prevent another name from coming to the board, we've got a later date, get ahead of this, and any other name on there, Bob, that you know?
I see.
Okay. Then disregard my question.
Yeah, we should figure out the concept,
Yeah.
because it's gonna relate to whoever.
Right.
As far as I know, the rest of them besides Rick live in state. Yeah, they all live in state besides Rick.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mike, who's gonna have the answer of whether or not the healthcare applies if you're out of state?
Blue Cross?
Blue Cross does, and, I do know when I was down in Florida that, they honored my Michigan Blue Cross Blue Shield, down there when I got injured. Didn't have no problems with out of state.
And Bob, you
You know.
didn't receive anything from the carrier saying we don't cover you.
Oh, I spoke to Blue Cross,
And
and
they
they said,
said-
oh, you are not covered out of the state of Michigan.
Okay, all right, okay.
Blue
That's-
Cross Blue Care Network,
That's important, okay. So they told you, it wasn't any, they told you that,
they told me I would not be covered out of the state of Michigan.
okay. Okay, Madam Chair, I think
We're through. We'll
I
go on
think-
to,
we don't really need a motion on 9B, do we?
okay, don't think so. Okay, so we move on to financial business, correct?
We're gonna need a motion again to table the two of those, A and B, just like the last meeting.
Okay.
I make a motion to table under financial business letters A and B.
Support.
And so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we move along to updated investment plan.
It's the same allocation from the last meeting that he provided, where he adds the gold. And what else was on there?
It was just the same recommendation. Chris.
Same recommendation.
And I make a motion that we accept and file the updated investment plan pursuant to John Farrick.
Support.
A second?
I supported it.
Okay, support. Okay, then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we move along to preliminary financial statements. What am I looking for? A motion to accept
See
this?
the file?
I'll make a motion to receive and file preliminary financial statements.
Support.
Okay, I got a motion and a support. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we move along to adjournment.
Bob, you wanted to talk about something before adjournment?
I have a question for the interim city manager. I made a phone call to Kristen, requested that I put on the agenda, and I also put it in writing. And I got a phone call back saying, Mike said not without documentation.
Mhm.
I was never explained what documentation. I mean, I could have brought in the daily
Bob,
newspaper.
Bob, we asked you for what
No,
public.
you didn't
ordinance-
tell me what you wanted. I was told you need
Supporting
that.
documentation to what you're requesting. That's what I told you.
Well, you said documentation.
I said supporting
I
documentation.
have the email. Documentation. So, documentation that you already have,
What do I already have, Bob?
the documentation. Why should I have to fight you?
I'm not fighting with you. I'm not,
No, can I answer? Can I finish?
Can I finish?
Well, I wasn't finished.
Okay.
You know, you said documentation. I was never told what documentation, but whatever you wanted, you have.
Bob, this could be my problem. I'll take responsibility for this. When they contacted me, because they were gonna have me at this meeting for the other reasons that we already discussed, Ames and that other one, they said, well, Bob has some other issues he wants to put on the agenda. 3 names of people who should get retiree health care. And I said, since I'm gonna be there, it would be helpful to me to prepare if Bob could provide documentation to support why those 3 should be getting retiree health care. So maybe I could be more intelligent at the meeting and have some answers.
Okay, that's understandable.
You know, just, and.
I can see your point.
And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. If I didn't, it's fine. But I was just trying, because it was still like 14 days away, I said, hey, if I could get a little reading material, maybe I could be able to answer your questions a little better. So when I saw that you just wanted 3 names on the agenda, why don't these people get health care? I was the documentation would have been, why do you think they should get health care? What part of the ordinance, what's the theory? And I could examine that before the meeting. So that was probably my fault.
Well, that's understandable, but I've got another question. When this board refers things to you, pension questions, who pays you? Does it come out of the general fund or does it come out of the retirement fund?
Retirement funds.
Is that proper? I don't have a clue.
I have not set, I send my invoices to the city, according to my agreement, and they decide where it gets paid from.
Okay.
So I actually don't know the answer to your question.
Okay, just so you know, I'm researching and I got to call into some people. Pension funds are very restricted,
Yes.
what you can do with them. And I don't know if paying attorneys is the answer or is proper. It may well be, but I think that everything that brings in a question of even common sense gets referred to the attorney. Not your fault, not at all, but I think some things we should make our own mind up on. You know, we're spending retirement money willy-nilly and it's underfunded. And I think that it's time that we start answering questions for ourselves. I mean, we're all adults here, but in closing, and I'm gonna look at his camera. I think this board is doing a disservice to the pension, to the taxpayers of Marine City by giving health care to people, and I'm gonna be in disagreement with you, Mr. Attorney, that don't deserve it, did not pay for it, such as myself paid for it, Jim paid for it. When we went to arbitration and got health care for retirees, you understand how Act 312 works, I'm sure. Arbitrator cannot split the hair. He takes one or the other side, issue by issue. And we lost our pay raise. And his words were, I will not grant you your pay raise because I'm going to grant you health care for retirees. So we not only paid 5% into the retiree fund, but we lost that pay raise. It was compounded over 20 years, which amounted to a lot of money. Every individual member, participant of the Marine City retirement system paid for that benefit of retiree health care. And now we've got people that paid nothing. We have the spouse of someone who paid nothing into the retirement fund, collecting a benefit that was put in place for active participating retirees. And if the issue of contracts, separation contracts, work contract comes up, Mr. Davis, I want you to, if you will, admit the contract cannot supersede an ordinance. You cannot negotiate in the contract something that violates an ordinance, a county law, or a state law. Do you agree with that?
Well, Bob, I'm not gonna answer your question. I can tell you that contracts can be void as contrary to public policy if they violate a state law. I do know that for sure. Whether that applies to an ordinance, I wouldn't be prepared to answer that, but I do agree that a contract can be void for public policy reasons if it violates a law.
Okay. So you won't answer it, okay.
Well, I did answer it.
Well, yeah, you said I'm not gonna answer it, you said state law. And
I said
can a city ordinance supersede a state law?
A city ordinance is allowed to be more restrictive than a state law.
Can it supersede?
No.
Okay. Okay. And in closing, I suggest the taxpayers of Marine City get involved with your government. They're wasting your tax dollars. They're giving them away. I'm trying to make it correct. I'm trying to make it fair. They're discriminating against retirees by offering benefits to one and not the other. Okay, and I have been, and I know Mr. Zorn, I knew his dad very well. I have been in contact with an attorney named Mr. Phil Ellison.
I know, Phil.
You're very well familiar with him. He likes to take on city government.
He does.
He does. And contrary to what you've heard, and a lot of you people have heard, I'm not a horrible person. I'm a man of pride. And I was taught when I was raised, if you ever lose your word as a man, you might as well leave because you're done. You are done. I'm not going to let this go. My responsibility is to the retirees of this city and to the taxpayers. This is not going away real soon. We're going to continue to fight. I'm going to continue to dig. I didn't have my paperwork done because I got this in the mail worse than this last Saturday. Now, although I'm retired, I'm a busy man. I ain't got time to sit down and read all this in 2 days. This needs to come out to us or we should be able to pick it up. I was going to bring mine. It looked like it laid in a mud puddle for a week. And I would really like somebody to find out what happened.
I can tell you that they were delivered, hand-delivered to the post office inside.
Okay.
So you have to talk to the post office.
But we need to get them a week in advance.
I already said to you, that's fine, I'll
Yeah.
give everybody a call. Those that want to come and pick them up, can come and pick them up, which will be a week ahead of time. And those that don't know.
Lisa's is marked, received, possibly damaged.
Did you see that?
They were hand-delivered, she showed me already, to the post office. That's all I can say.
But it was received by the post office like that, so,
That's what the
Oh,
post
that's their
office is saying.
well, yeah.
Yeah, we dropped it in a mud puddle, Bob, on the way to the
Okay.
post office and delivered it.
Okay. Well, rest assured, folks, it's not going away. I'm not a bad person. I'll buy you a beer. I don't drink myself. I'll buy you a beer, but this is not, whenever you want, this is not going away. And I told him, Mr. Davis, I totally disagree with you. When you preempt something with assuming all the facts are true, that means I'm covering my rear. Because if you find something not true, I say, you can say, hey, I assumed everything was true. You know as well as I do what that ordinance reads. You know what a participant means and you know what a member means.
I can read, Bob, and I read every word, and it says what it says.
That's right.
And it doesn't say what you say it says.
Doesn't say what you say it says.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do you have a second? Second. All support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hard to lose a motion to adjourn.
Yes.